All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a story from the Bible.
Okay.
It's about King David and his quest to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to Israel. Chronicles 13 through 16.
Right, yeah.
Now, just to be clear, this ark wasn't just some, dusty old relic in the back of a temple somewhere.
Yeah, oh, no, not at all.
It was considered the a symbol of God's presence.
Yeah, think about it, for the Israelites, they believed that the ark actually housed God's presence.
Oh, wow.
It was like their connection to the divine. So for David to bring it back to Jerusalem, that was huge GE,
So this was like a really significant event.
Absolutely. Beyond significant. It was spiritual, political, you name it.
And from what I understand, things didn't exactly go smoothly.
You could say that.
There was that incident with Uzzah, right?
Yeah. Oh,
He was trying to help.
Well, his heart was in the right place. They were transporting the ark, and it looked like it was about to topple over. Right.
So Uzzah reached out to steady it.
And then?
He was struck down by God.
Wow. So, instant death.
It's a tough moment in the story for sure. You really have to pause and grapple with what it means.
Yeah, on the surface, it seems pretty harsh.
Right. The guy was just trying to help. But we got to understand, the context, right?
Right. So what was going on back then that would help us understand this better?
So in ancient Israel, they had this idea of holiness, right?
Right.
And it was really tied up with all these purity laws, like super strict rules about, who could touch sacred objects.
And how you could touch them.
Exactly. And the ark, that was the most sacred object of all, So someone reaching out to touch it, especially Uzzah, who wasn't a Levite, a priest, that was a major, major no-no.
Ah, okay. So even though he meant well, it was still a serious offense.
Yeah. And the way the story's told, it really seems like this event was meant to underscore just how holy the ark was. You approach this thing with awe, with reverence. So what happened next? You can imagine David was probably pretty freaked out.
Yeah, you think.
Who wouldn't be, right?
Exactly. So he decides, okay, we're going to leave the ark at this guy Obed-Edom's house for a bit, just, to kind of let things settle down.
Okay, so they take a break.
Right. But here's where it gets interesting, During those 3 months that the ark stayed at Obed-Edom's house, he and his entire household, they're blessed.
Wait, blessed?
How? The story doesn't get into specifics, but, it implies that, things are going well for them. They're prosperous, their crops are good. Things are just working out.
So not what you'd expect after, the whole Uzzah incident.
Exactly. It's a real head scratcher, right?
It makes you think about, how God works, his blessings. Are they always predictable? You'd think after a tragedy like that.
Yeah, you'd expect maybe some sort of I don't know, divine punishment or something.
Right, something bad. But no, it's the opposite.
Totally. This little episode, I think it's meant to challenge our assumptions about, how God operates. Maybe we don't always have it figured out.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like a reminder to be open to the unexpected.
Exactly. Don't put God in a box, Now,
this whole thing with Uzzah, it seems like it was like a turning point for David.
How so?
Well, after this, while the ark is chilling with Obed-Edom, David starts winning all these battles against the Philistines.
Right, he's racking up victories.
Exactly. But what's really interesting is that before each battle, he goes and he asks for God's guidance.
That is interesting. So even though he's king, he recognizes that he still needs
help.
Yeah, guidance. He knows he doesn't have all the answers.
Makes you think, right? If a king, the most powerful guy in the land is seeking guidance.
Shouldn't we all be doing that?
Yeah, how often do we actually stop and ask for guidance before making a big decision?
It's a powerful reminder, No matter who you are, how successful, how smart, there's always wisdom in seeking something bigger than yourself.
Okay, so after 3 months, David finally decides to bring the ark to Jerusalem.
About time, right?
Right. But this time, he's learned his lesson. He makes sure everything is done by the book, according to God's instructions. The Levites, they're the ones carrying the ark. And the whole city, the whole city erupts in celebration. There's music and dancing and sacrifices. It's a pretty epic scene.
It must have been incredible. Imagine after years of being away, the ark, the symbol of God's presence, is finally back home.
It really highlights how central faith was to their lives.
Absolutely. And The fact that the entire community came together to celebrate, it speaks volumes about, their sense of unity, their shared faith.
But as with all good stories, there's a little bit of drama.
What happened?
Well, David's wife, Michal, she's not exactly thrilled with the whole dancing in the streets thing. In fact, she actually criticizes David for getting a little too enthusiastic in his praise.
Oh, wow. Talk about awkward family dinner. It's interesting, though, right? Even back then, expressing your faith openly, it wasn't always met with, open arms.
Yeah, and it's still like that today, isn't it?
Totally. People judge, they misunderstand, they think you're being too out there.
And David's reaction is just, well, it's awesome. He doesn't back down. He doesn't apologize. He's like, hey, I'm worshiping God. This is how I do it. If you've got a problem with it, that's your problem.
It's a really powerful moment, He's not ashamed of his faith.
Not one bit. And then, as if things couldn't get any more intense, after all this celebrating and dancing and drama, David offers burnt offerings, blesses the people. And then he writes this incredible psalm of thanksgiving.
Oh, it's really beautiful. It's all about remembering God's faithfulness, even, and maybe especially when things are tough. There's this one line that really got to me. It says, remember his marvelous works that he has done, his wonders, and the judgments of his mouth.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the midst of hardship, there's always something to be grateful for. And, it's not just about remembering, it's about celebrating, acknowledging those good things.
Yeah, gratitude. And it's not just a personal thing. David's calling on everyone to remember together.
Exactly. It's like this collective act of remembering, giving thanks. It brings people together.
So, wow. I mean, after diving into all this, it feels like we've uncovered like a treasure trove of takeaways.
Yeah.
The importance of reverence, of seeking guidance, the courage to express your faith without shame, and, of course, gratitude. Don't forget gratitude.
David's story, it's timeless,
Yeah.
full of valuable lessons that still resonate today. It's a story of faith, but also a story of growth. You're right. He messes up, learns from it, and then, comes back stronger, wiser.
Yeah. He matures in his understanding of God. He leads his people closer to God.
It's inspiring,
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, well, if this was David's journey towards bringing the ark home,
Yeah.
what does that journey look like for us,
That's a good question.
What does it look like in our own lives?
And, maybe even more importantly, how can we cultivate that same sense of gratitude that David had, even when things are difficult?
Yeah, that's something to really think about.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.